Namaste. In this video, we will discuss in detail about knight or Shoorveer, which we call in Dashpada board. Shoorveer cannot be more than 2 in any army. Shoorveer are one rank above Gajarohi. In modern chess, we call Gajarohi as bishop. And Shoorveer can move one step in normal circumstances. You can see the two Shoorveers encircled in green. We will discuss how a Shoorveer or knight moves with some examples as well. Any of the army officer or royal officers can move minimum one step. We know about it. Shoorveer, when empowered, can move 1 plus 1 is equal to 2 steps. They are half step more than Gajarohi, called Uttar Madhyavarti, making them jump over their own army. They are basically ranked half rank more than Gajarohi. You can say that it's kind of 1.5 rank. For example, these two steps can be diagonal and then diagonal, diagonal and then straight. Two steps could be like straight and then straight, two steps straight and then diagonal. Let's discuss some of the examples. In the first example, you can see that Shoorveer can move one step on its own in any direction. In second example, you can see empowered Shoorveer can move up to 2 steps and can also jump over its army. A knight is empowered by army general, and it can move like 1 and then 11, then move like from 2, then 3. It can even jump over army general and move to 8th cell. It can even move over the lower pawn diagonally and then move straight forward to 9th cell. Similarly, it can move diagonally to pawn again and diagonal again to 10th cell. In the third example, empowered Shoorveer can move maximum of 2 steps and jump over its army. Herein, Shoorveer or knight is trying to break any temporary border, but it cannot do so because king, minister and general all must be active. But in this example, king and minister are inactive, hence empowered Shoorveer cannot break any temporary border. This is the extension of example 3. We can consider it as example 3.1. Herein, king and minister both are active and army general is also active. Herein, knight is empowered by army general and it can easily break the temporary border. We will now discuss how a Shoorveer or knight strikes the opponent. We will discuss some examples as well. Shoorveer can strike the opponent when following conditions are met. First condition is the king and minister and general, all three of them must be alive. Second condition is king and minister and general, all three of them must be active as well as alive and must not be in their palaces. If any of them are in palace, then this means that army is also inactive and has no monetary or ammunition resources. Let's discuss the first example. You can see this image. The knight on the Dashpada board is surrounded by the lower ranks up till its own rank. And Shoorveer can strike any opponent up to its own rank which includes Padati, Spy, Gajaroi, and Shoorveer. Remember, all trinities must be active and alive. In second example, you can see Shoorveer or knight is surrounded by higher ranked officers. Empowered Shoorveer can strike any opponent up to any rank, which includes Padati and Spy and Gajaroi and Shoorveer and Maharathi and General and Minister and King. Make sure that all the trinities are active and alive. Important point to note is that Narad or Raj Rishi cannot be captured because they are not enemies. We will now discuss the scenarios where Shoorveer or Knight are pushing the opponents with some examples as well. If Shoorveers are not able to strike the opponent, then it can always push any of the opponent of any capacity of or rank. If any of the powerhouse like king and minister and general are dead, then Shoorveer cannot strike, but can always push the opponents. If any of the powerhouse like king and minister and general are inactive inside the palaces, then also Shoorveer cannot strike, but can always push the opponents. Let's see the first example. Shoorveer without any power can push any opponent up to any rank, which includes Padati and Spy and Gajaroi and Shoorveer and Maharathi and General and Minister and King. In this very basic example, Shoorveer is pushing the ranks up to its own rank, though it can still push higher rank officials. In second example, you can see Shoorveer is not empowered, but still he is able to push any opponent up to any rank. Shoorveer can even push opponent king and opponent general. In the third example, empowered Shoorveer can move maximum of 2 steps and then can also push any opponent up to any rank. Shoorveer is empowered by army general and it can push opponent king by moving 2 steps, and the king gets pushed further in the same direction from where the knight is coming. We will now see some scenarios where Shoorveer is unable to push the opponents due to some obstacles. Let's see some examples. In example 1, you can see that Shoorveer is trying to push the opponent pawn, but he is unable to do so. As you know that Shoorveer can push any opponent to the direction of its last step. If opponent are stuck and cannot be pushed in the direction of Shoorveer's last step, then Shoorveer has got the opportunity to strike. If king or minister or general, if anyone is sleeping in palace, then also opponent cannot be captured. In this condition, Shoorveer can push any opponent to the direction of their last step, but they are not able to push further. They cannot even strike the opponent pawn because the king and the minister both are inactive in their palaces. In the second example, you will see Shoorveer is trying to push the opponent army general, and army general is stuck because of obstacle, hence army general cannot be pushed further. In this scenario, Shoorveer can easily capture the army general because if any actor gets stuck, then whatever the rank it may possess, it can be captured. Moreover, king and minister and general all are free and active, and this scenario standard opponent can be captured and pushed to the direction of Shoorveer's last step. So here pushing is not possible, but at least it can be captured. Now there can be situations where Shoorveer or knight may not be able to strike the opponents. We will understand these scenarios. Inactive powerhouses become weak and powerless in palaces. Similarly, army officers also become weak and powerless in palaces. And activated powerhouses in palaces still remain weak and powerless, but at least now they can move out. Same thing applies to the army officers as well. If get activated, they will still remain weak and powerless, but at least they can come out. Now we will discuss the conditions where Shoorveer or knight can be promoted. Shoorveer can be promoted only with the help of powerhouses or demi-powerhouses. All the army officials can be promoted with the help of powerhouses or demi-powerhouses. These promoting factors are king, minister, general, and spy. In exceptional scenarios, Narad or peacemaker can also promote. And Shoorveer, when promoted, can become only Rook, which we call as Maharathi in ancient Shadyantra on Dashpada board. Remember that convicted Shoorveer, when demoted, can become normal Gajarohi, which we call as modern chess bishop. Convicted actors can never be promoted. Let's see one example. On the screen, you can see that Shoorveer is empowered by Army General, and empowered Shoorveer can be promoted as a Rook on its own place. Empowered Shoorveer can move 2 steps and can be promoted if the destination has powerhouse as neighbor. And when crossing the obstacle, actors lose their energy and promotion cannot be made. At any point of time, there cannot be more than 2 rooks in any army. In the last part of this video, we will try to understand the conditions or scenarios where Shoorveer or knight becomes inactive in palace. We will see some examples as well. Inactive powerhouses become weak and powerless in palaces. Similarly, inactive army officers also become weak and powerless in palaces. Activated powerhouses or even officers in palaces still remain weak and powerless, but at least now they can move out. In the first example, the Shoorveer is encircled in green and it is trapped in palace. So Shoorveer is inactive and inactive Shoorveers cannot come out of palace on their own. In the second example, Shoorveer was inactive and staying in palace. So this inactive Shoorveer was made active by the neighbor army general, which is powering Shoorveer. Shoorveer, even though it is activated now in palace, but it cannot strike the opponent. It can only push the opponent. In the third example, Shoorveer is again in palace and has been activated by the neighbor army general, which is outside the palace. And Shoorveer, even when they are activated in palace, then also they cannot break the temporary border. We have discussed all the examples, all the scenarios for knight. Dhanyavad. Namaste.